Imagine for a second that you're living abroad. You've been studying in Canada for a few years, living that pretty standard student lifestyle, and now it's time to head back home to the Middle East.
Right, you're transitioning back to your roots.
Exactly. And you need to get some new clothes for work, right? So you head to a local tailor to get a traditional thobe made. You get measured, you do the whole process, and a week later you come back to try it on.
Standard procedure.
Yeah. So you slip it over your shoulders, button it up, and look in the mirror. And right there in the front of the garment, it's huge.
Like it doesn't fit at all.
Not at all. It's billowing out. There is this massive pocket of empty fabric right over your stomach.
And your immediate reaction, obviously, is going to be that the tailor just made a mistake, right?
Yes.
Like they wrote down the wrong measurements, or maybe they mixed up your order with someone else's.
Exactly. You call the tailor over and you say, like, hey, this isn't mine. You completely messed up the measurements here.
But he didn't.
No. The tailor just looks at you, completely calm, and explains that, no, the measurements were right. He just, preemptively built in a belly pouch.
A belly pouch, just built right in.
Just built it right in. He assumed that because you were moving back to this society, taking a desk job, settling into the local lifestyle, you would inevitably develop a massive gut just like everyone else.
Wow. He was literally future-proofing your clothing for guaranteed obesity.
Yeah. It sounds like a scene from some sort of dystopian novel, right?
It really does, but I mean, it is an entirely true story. It's an actual anecdote from a top bariatric surgeon we've been speaking with, detailing his own experience when he returned to Saudi Arabia around 2011.
It's wild, but it perfectly encapsulates the profound, almost invisible environmental forces that we're really going to unpack today.
Absolutely, because usually, when we talk about a medical diagnosis, we expect precision, like engineering.
Right. Like you break your arm, the x-ray shows that jagged white line, and the doctor just points and says, there it is, broken.
Yeah, it's binary, it's clean. We like things to be visible and easily categorized.
But then you step into the world of human metabolism, body weight, and modern diets, and suddenly that x-ray machine is, well, it's completely useless. We're looking at a diagnostic landscape that is just incredibly murky.
And let's be honest, we have all been there.
Oh, for sure. You listening right now, you've probably tried a diet. You've downloaded a calorie tracking app, or you've just stared at the treadmill console dripping sweat, wondering why the scale absolutely refuses to budge.
Right. It's incredibly frustrating.
It really is. But what if the way we think about weight loss, dieting, and even these massive medical interventions is fundamentally backwards?
That is the exact premise we are exploring today, because this isn't just some simple mathematical calculation of calories in versus calories out.
Right, we've got to let that go.
We do. That is a myth that absolutely needs to be retired. What we are looking at is a profound and frankly kind of uncomfortable examination of societal habits.
Yeah, the illusion of modern quick fixes.
Exactly. And the incredibly complex, highly evolved relationship between our brains, our stomachs, and the built environment around us.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the hard truths about the global obesity epidemic. We're using some incredibly candid insights from the front lines of bariatric surgery to do this.
And we're going to debunk some massive, pervasive myths about diets and, those weight loss injections that absolutely everyone seems to be talking about right now.
Yeah, you can't escape them. And we're going to reveal the intense psychological realities behind actually permanently altering your anatomy.
It's a lot to cover.
It is. So whether you are trying to lose a few pounds, maybe you're considering a medical intervention, or you just want to understand why your body stubbornly hoards calories like it's preparing for a nuclear winter, this conversation is going to completely reframe how you view your metabolism and your daily habits. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, we have to start with the sheer scale of the problem, because we really cannot understand the biology of an individual until we understand the environment they're swimming in, so to speak.
Yeah. Right, the macro level.
Exactly. Our insights today zero in on the Middle East, specifically Saudi Arabia, and the statistics provided by the surgical data are, quite frankly, they're staggering.
Okay, lay it on us.
We are talking about 72% of the population being classified as either overweight or obese.
I really want you to let that sink in for a second. 72%.
That's massive.
It is. If you walk into a coffee shop right now and look at a random crowd of 10 people, statistically 7 of them fall into this category.
Yeah. It's not a fringe medical issue. It is the absolute dominant baseline of the society. It is the new normal.
Which is terrifying. How does that break down mechanically?
So to break that down a bit further, 1 in 5 people in this population is classified specifically as obese, meaning they have a body mass index, or BMI, of over 30,
Okay.
and 3 in 5 are overweight. But what makes this truly alarming to health professionals isn't just the health metric itself.
Where is it?
It's the demographic hit. The absolute highest rates of obesity are striking the prime working demographic. We are talking about people between the ages of 15 and 40.
The peak years. I mean, those are the years you were supposed to be building a career, starting a family, playing sports.
Exactly. You should have the absolute most physical vitality of your entire life.
And instead, they are the hardest hit.
Precisely. And the economic cost of this, like the sheer financial gravity, is massive. It is estimated at around $4 billion annually just for this specific region.
Wait, $4 billion? Where is all that money going? I mean, it can't just be the cost of larger clothes or extra food.
Oh, not at all. That $4 billion is a complex web of systemic healthcare costs.
Like what?
It's absenteeism from work because of chronic joint pain. It's the massive influx of hospital visits for secondary conditions, what we in the medical field call comorbidities.
Right, the things that come along with the weight.
Exactly. When you have a BMI over 30, you aren't just dealing with extra weight. You are dealing with the massive strain that weight puts on your cardiovascular system, which leads to hypertension.
Got it.
You're dealing with a constant flood of insulin, leading to type 2 diabetes.
Hmm.
The $4 billion is the cost of managing the fallout of a body that is operating under constant, crushing physical stress.
It's a societal earthquake, really. But what I found so utterly fascinating when looking through the historical context is how we got here, culturally.
It happened so fast.
It did, because it wasn't always like this. We weren't always a species that struggled with excess. In fact, historically, cultural concepts of health were completely inverted.
Right. The linguistic shift is really telling here.
Yeah, there is this Arabic term, mutafi, which essentially translates to healthy or recovered. But historically, it was used specifically to praise a chubby child.
Which is fascinating. It shows how language is essentially a fossil record of our survival.
Yeah.
Think about the environment hundreds of years ago, especially in a harsh desert climate.
Right, very unforgiving.
Extremely. Food scarcity was a very real, constant daily threat. Infant mortality was high, diseases were rampant, and a bad harvest or a drought meant literal starvation.
So in that environment,
In that environment, a child who had excess weight was a child who was surviving. They were vital. They had a literal biological buffer against famine or a prolonged fever.
so if you were eating a lot and storing it, you were strong.
Exactly. So the culture naturally evolved to praise that. Look at this chubby baby. They are mutaafi. They are going to make it.
That makes perfect evolutionary sense, actually. Our brains are hardwired to look at stored energy and feel relief.
Yes, but here is the tragedy of it. The physical environment changed drastically and incredibly rapidly over the last 50 years.
While the culture stayed the same.
Right. The cultural praise and the biological hardwiring for overeating lingered, but the need for it vanished.
Right. Because think about what our ancestors were actually eating. They were consuming incredibly calorie-dense foods. We're talking dates, which are basically nature's candy.
Heavy stews.
Yeah. Massive communal meals centered around huge platters of rice, lamb, and clarified butter. But, and this is the massive crucial but, they moved constantly.
They had to move. Life was physical labor. If you wanted to eat, you were walking, lifting, herding, building. The calorie expenditure completely matched the calorie intake.
But flash forward to today, we've kept the calorie-dense communal meals. We still sit around the massive platter of kabsa.
But society has literally engineered movement right out of daily life.
It's completely gone.
That is the core issue, and it's something urban planners talk about constantly. We have transitioned into entirely car-centric cities. The modern environment is actually hostile to the pedestrian.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we see this all the time. People will drive out of their driveway, commute on a highway, pull into a massive, heavily air-conditioned mall.
And then literally circle the parking lot for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yes, burning gas, just to find a parking spot that is directly in front of the automatic sliding doors.
The physical environment actively discourages the expenditure of human energy. The entire infrastructure of the city is designed to accommodate the car, not the human body.
It's like we've built a multi-billion-dollar theme park specifically designed for sitting down.
That's a great way to put it.
I mean, think about your average Tuesday. You wake up, sit in a car, you go to work, sit at a desk, you commute home, sit on the couch.
And then you order food.
Right. We have delivery apps on supercomputers in our pockets, bringing 2,000-calorie traditional meals right to our laps while we binge watch television. Are we really surprised the body takes all that excess energy and immediately stores it as visceral fat right in the belly?
We absolutely shouldn't be surprised.
Mm.
From a biological standpoint, the body is performing perfectly.
Wait, perfectly?
Yes, it
Mm.
is doing exactly what millions of years of brutal evolution trained it to do. It is taking a massive surplus of easy calories and packing them away for a famine.
Just doing its job.
Exactly. The problem is, in the modern industrialized world, that famine is never going to come. The body is endlessly preparing for a winter that has been permanently canceled by delivery apps and 247 supermarkets.
And that brings us to the great modern paradox, doesn't it? When society finally realizes it has a massive obesity problem, when that 72% statistic hits the news, what is our immediate cultural reflex?
Panic.
We completely panic. And human nature dictates that when we panic, we swing to the absolute opposite extreme.
We always overcorrect.
We do. We go from eating a 2,000-calorie kebab on the couch to engaging in punishing, miserable, extreme diets. But as we see in clinical practice every day, our bodies are evolutionary survivors, and they absolutely hate being starved.
They view sudden calorie restriction not as a health kick, but as a violent existential attack. Let's look at how the concept of a diet is perceived culturally, for example.
Go.
In the Arab world, and frankly, this applies to diet culture globally, the word diet is almost exclusively synonymous with a very specific, heavy word,
Herman.
herman,
Yeah.
which means deprivation, right? Deprivation. It implies suffering. It doesn't mean, nourishing your body with high-quality proteins and greens. It means locking yourself in a cage of restriction.
It's viewed as a punishment for the sin of gaining weight.
Exactly. And when your foundational mindset is punishment and deprivation, it leads to some truly catastrophic biological mistakes. Take intermittent fasting, for example.
Oh, man. I feel like everyone I know is doing some version of intermittent fasting right now.
It's incredibly popular,
Yeah.
but it is heavily misunderstood and completely misused.
Yeah.
It is arguably one of the most misused trends in modern nutrition.
Really? How so?
Well, in clinical settings,
Mm.
doctors see this constantly. A patient comes in and says, "I'm doing great, I'm fasting." But when you look at their actual behavior, they are fasting all day long,
Right.
drinking nothing but black coffee and water, absolutely starving themselves,
Right.
ignoring their body's stress signals. And then at 7:00 p.m., because they feel they've, quote-unquote, earned it through their suffering, they break their fast with a single, massive 2,000-plus calorie meal.
And they mentally justify it. They think, hey, I only ate once today. My total calories are fine. I'm beating the system.
Right.
But biologically, at a cellular level, that is a disaster, isn't it? What is actually happening inside the body when you do that?
It is an absolute chaotic disaster for your endocrine system. Let's break down the exact biology of this one huge meal mistake, because it's vital to understand.
Please do.
When you starve your body all day, you are putting it into a state of acute stress. Your cortisol levels rise. Your body starts panicking, thinking, okay, food is incredibly scarce right now.
It thinks there's a famine.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Then suddenly at 7:12 p.m., you drop 2,000 calories, mostly heavy carbohydrates and fats, into the digestive system.
Just a massive bomb of energy all at once.
Yes. And your body breaks those carbohydrates down into glucose, which floods into your bloodstream. Now, high blood sugar is toxic, so your pancreas detects this massive flood and goes into absolute overdrive.
It panics.
It pumps out a massive, chaotic surge of a hormone called insulin.
Okay, let's pause on insulin for a second, because we hear that word all the time. But in plain English, what is insulin actually doing?
Think of insulin as a key. Your cells are locked doors, and glucose, the energy from your food, is standing outside in the bloodstream trying to get in.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Insulin is the key that unlocks the cellular door, allowing the glucose to enter the cell and be used for energy. But when you eat one massive meal, you release so much glucose at once that your cells get overwhelmed.
Too much energy at the door.
Exactly. They can't take it all in. So insulin has a secondary job. It takes all that excess leftover energy that the cells couldn't use, and it aggressively packs it away into storage.
And where does it store it?
Well, because the body has been stripped of trust, because you starved it for 18 hours and it doesn't know when the next meal is coming. It doesn't just store it anywhere. It takes a huge portion of that energy and immediately stores it as visceral fat.
Visceral fat, another term we hear in yogurt commercials all the time. How is that different from, say, the pinchable fat on the back of my arm?
The pinchable fat is subcutaneous fat.
Mm.
It's right under the skin. It's
Yeah.
relatively harmless.
Okay.
Visceral fat is the hard, deep fat that packs itself inside your abdominal cavity, wrapping tightly around your vital organs.
Oh, like around your liver and stomach.
Your liver, your stomach, your intestines. It is biologically active, highly inflammatory fat. It is the body's emergency hoarding mechanism. It's a biological panic response to erratic eating.
Wow. So by trying to starve the fat away all day, you're actually training your body to hoard the most dangerous type of fat even more aggressively. You're literally engineering your own obesity.
Exactly. And if you keep doing this, it leads to a phenomenon called metabolic adaptation,
Mm.
or what dieters universally dread, the plateau.
Ah, the plateau. You're doing everything right, you're starving, and the scale just completely freezes for 3 weeks.
Right. And here's why that happens. If you do this strict deprivation-style fasting for months, your body is smart. It realizes there's a chronic shortage of energy.
So what does it do?
It just slows down its baseline burning rate to match your lowered intake. It literally turns down your internal thermostat.
Oh, gal.
Let's say your body used to burn 2,000 calories a day, just keeping your heart beating and your lungs breathing. After months of extreme dieting, your body might downregulate that baseline to 1,400 calories.
That's incredibly frustrating.
It is. You could be eating practically nothing,
Yeah.
suffering every day, and still not losing a single ounce because your body has adapted to function on fumes.
There's this brilliant, incredibly vivid analogy used in bariatric psychology to explain this. The ant.
I love this analogy.
Yeah, I want you to think of a little ant in the middle of summer. It is working furiously, hoarding food, dragging massive crumbs back to the colony, building up a deep reserve.
Preparing for the worst.
Exactly. Why? Because the ant knows that a harsh, freezing winter is coming where there will be zero food. When you constantly deprive your body of food, your body becomes that ant. It goes into total hoarding mode. It shuts down fat burning because it simply doesn't trust you. It looks at your diet and thinks, winter has arrived. If I burn this fat, we will die.
That concept of trust is so vital, and it is almost completely ignored in modern diet culture. You have to actively build biological trust with your own metabolism.
And how do we do that?
The clinical solution for this, the way to repair that trust, is something often referred to as the lunchbox method.
Okay, break down the lunchbox method, because honestly, it sounds a little too simple, almost childish.
It is conceptually simple, but behaviorally it requires immense planning and discipline. The idea is to eat frequent, small, highly balanced meals throughout the day.
Like grazing.
Not exactly grazing, more structured. We are talking 3 main small meals and 2 specific snacks. You physically pack your lunchbox in the morning, you take it to the office, and you eat consistently on a schedule.
Wait, hang on. I need to push back on this. I really struggle to wrap my head around this thermodynamically.
Okay, let's hear it.
If I am eating, say, 1,500 calories in one giant meal at night versus 1,500 calories spread out over 5 small meals in my lunchbox, isn't that the exact same amount of energy entering my body? Why does my metabolism care when the calories arrive?
Because it cares immensely about the hormonal response.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a math equation, it's a chemistry lab.
Okay. Chemistry lab. Explain that.
When you provide a steady, small stream of nutrients every few hours, you keep those insulin levels we talked about completely stable. There are no massive spikes, and there are no massive crashes.
So the pancreas isn't panicking.
Exactly.
Mm.
You aren't forcing your pancreas to panic, but more importantly, from an evolutionary perspective, you are sending a continuous comforting chemical signal to your brain.
Telling it what?
You are telling your metabolism, hey, look, food is plentiful. A little bit just arrived and a little bit more is coming in 3 hours. There is no famine.
It is safe to burn the fat.
Yes.
Wow.
You are telling it it is completely safe to unlock the fat cells and burn that stored energy. You effectively turn off the ant's hoarding instinct.
That makes total sense. You're convincing the body that it's permanently summer.
Precisely.
But that completely flies in the face of every viral cheat day or open day trend on the internet right now. People absolutely love the idea of suffering on chicken and broccoli Monday through Friday so they can go completely wild on Saturday and eat an entire pizza.
And that cheat day mentality is exactly why so many diets fail spectacularly.
It is.
Yeah. In clinical practice, the open day is recognized as a complete myth. Think about the chemistry we just discussed.
Right, the stable insulin.
If you restrict yourself rigidly for 3 days, you're just starting to convince your body to tap into fat stores. And then on day 4, you have an open day where you gorge on heavy carbs and sugars.
You drop a bomb on the system.
You completely shock the system. The pancreas dumps a massive amount of insulin to handle the pizza.
And the body's like, aha, I knew it.
Exactly. The body, which was just starting to trust you, immediately grabs onto all that excess energy and aggressively stores it as fat, thinking, wow, I was right, the famine is real, but we just found a lucky surplus, hoard it.
So you completely ruin the metabolic progress of the previous 3 days.
You are back to square one physically, but now you have the added psychological burden of guilt, feeling like you failed or cheated.
It's a miserable, vicious cycle. You starve, you binge, your body hoards the fat, you feel intensely guilty, so you punish yourself by starving again.
It's exhausting.
It really is. And speaking of illusions that keep us trapped in this cycle, we have to talk about the grocery store aisles. The zero-calorie diet sodas and the sugar-free dark chocolates.
Oh, the marketing illusions.
People genuinely think these are free passes. They think, well, it's 0 calories, so it's not affecting my diet.
They do think that, and the marketing is designed to make them think that. But these products are behavioral illusions.
What do you mean by behavioral illusions?
A zero-calorie soda might not have actual sugar to spike your blood glucose, sure. But it maintains the deep-seated behavioral habit of needing something sweet, something heavily flavored and highly processed to cope with your daily life.
Right. It's like you're still practicing the motion of the addiction.
Exactly. If you need a sweet, fizzy drink to cope with the stress of a 3 p.m. meeting, or you need a bar of dark chocolate to self-soothe after an argument.
You haven't actually changed.
No, you haven't actually changed your relationship with food. You haven't solved the core issue, which is a psychological reliance on comfort mechanisms instead of viewing food as genuine nutritional sustenance.
It's treating the symptom of the calorie intake while completely ignoring the disease of the behavior.
Precisely.
And let's be real, breaking those deep-seated behavioral and metabolic habits requires an immense amount of willpower.
It takes a lot of time.
It requires time, consistency, and a lot of uncomfortable self-reflection. And human nature dictates that we hate waiting.
We want a quick fix.
We naturally look for a biological override. We want a magic wand. We don't want to pack a Tupperware lunchbox for 6 months. We want to see the scale drop by next Friday.
And right now, in modern medicine, that magic wand comes in a very specific, incredibly lucrative form.
A syringe.
Yes. We are talking about the massive, unprecedented rise of weight loss injections. Drugs known chemically as GLP-1 agonists, with brand names like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro.
They are the defining medical trend of this decade.
They really are. They're often viewed by the public as a much easier, softer alternative to the physical trauma of bariatric surgery or the mental grind of the lunchbox method.
Let's really get into this, because at this point, absolutely everyone knows someone, a coworker, a neighbor, a family member, who is on these shots right now.
It's ubiquitous.
And the rumors about them are wild. What is the actual strict clinical profile for these medications? Like, who were they actually built for by the pharmaceutical companies?
Well, clinically, they were originally developed for managing type 2 diabetes, but their weight loss applications have completely taken over.
Okay, so for weight loss, who is the ideal candidate?
For weight management, they are specifically designed for people who need to lose a moderate amount of weight, say roughly 10 to 15 kilos.
That's not a massive amount.
No, it's moderate. We are talking about individuals with a BMI around 28 to 30, and crucially, they are intended for patients who have other comorbidities.
So, meaning the weight is causing other problems.
Right. They are for people whose weight is actively causing prediabetes, severe joint pain, or high blood pressure.
So they are a serious medical intervention for disease management. They are not designed as a casual cosmetic quick fix to drop 5 stubborn pounds so you can look better in a swimsuit for a beach vacation next month.
Definitely not, although that is exactly how they are frequently being misused in the black market or through lax telehealth prescriptions.
But how do they actually work? I know the baseline, they make you not want to eat. But what is the actual biological mechanism behind that? How does a shot in your thigh make you skip lunch?
They work via 2 primary, incredibly powerful mechanisms. The first is purely mechanical in the gut.
Okay, what does it do in the gut?
These drugs significantly slow down the rate at which your stomach empties, a process called gastric emptying. So you eat a small meal, and instead of that food moving quickly into your intestines, it literally sits in your stomach for hours longer than normal.
Okay, so the food is physically just waiting there.
Yes. And because the stomach stays physically distended, it sends continuous signals up the vagus nerve to the brain saying, we are full, there is no room.
Wow.
You just do not have the physical capacity or the desire to eat more.
That makes perfect sense. The tank is literally full, so you stop pumping gas.
But what's the second mechanism? Because I've heard it goes much deeper than just a full stomach.
It does. The second mechanism is neurological, and this is where we have to be very careful and highly analytical. These drugs actually cross the blood-brain barrier.
They go into the brain.
They do, and they alter neural pathways in the brain. Specifically, they interact with the reward centers to drastically reduce cravings. And this is where it gets absolutely fascinating and honestly a little terrifying. Because when you talk to bariatric psychologists, they dive into a darker, much less discussed side effect of messing with those specific neural pathways in the brain.
Exactly. Because these drugs interfere with the dopamine pathways.
The pleasure chemical.
Right. Dopamine is the primary neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure, motivation, and reward. It's what makes life feel good. But patients on these medications frequently report a profound, unexpected side effect.
It's just.
They start feeling depressed, lethargic, or they completely lose their general joy in life. It's a clinical state known as anhedonia.
Anhedonia.
Yeah.
The literal inability to feel pleasure. But why does that happen just from a weight loss drug?
Well, think about human behavior for a second. For a massive percentage of the population, food is their primary coping mechanism and their primary source of daily dopamine.
Right. You get a promotion at work, you celebrate with a massive decadent dinner.
Or you have a terrible, stressful day where your boss yells at you and you come home and comfort yourself with a pint of ice cream on the couch.
The ice cream is a chemical hug. It spikes the dopamine, and you feel temporarily okay.
Precisely. But when you take these GLP-1 medications, you fundamentally sever that pathway. You can no longer reward yourself with food when you are happy, and you cannot soothe yourself with food when you are sad.
It's just gone.
The biological desire, the dopamine hit, is completely shut off.
So you've chemically removed their only comfort blanket. But, and this is the tragic part, you haven't taught the patient a new way to self-soothe. You haven't taught them how to process stress without a cheeseburger.
No, you haven't.
That sounds incredibly isolating. You're just left sitting on the couch with your stress, completely unable to find relief.
It is deeply isolating. And beyond the profound psychological toll, there are significant physical risks that people often ignore, simply because they are so desperately focused on the number dropping on the scale.
What kind of physical risks?
We are talking about severe gastrointestinal issues. Because the stomach emptying is artificially delayed, patients often develop chronic, painful constipation, or conversely, severe diarrhea.
Because things are backed up.
Exactly. Their digestive tract is essentially paralyzed or severely malfunctioning.
A paralyzed digestive tract? That sounds awful. And wasn't there something in the clinical literature about the pancreas and the thyroid, something they initially saw in animal studies?
Yes, and this is a critical safety warning that ethical doctors scream from the rooftops. Based on studies in mice, there are potential serious risks of pancreatitis.
That's inflammation of the pancreas, right?
It is a severe, incredibly painful inflammation of the pancreas, where the digestive enzymes essentially start attacking the organ itself. Furthermore, there is a noted risk of developing specific types of thyroid tumors.
Thyroid tumors, I mean, that is not a minor side effect.
It's not, and this is exactly why a pre-screening ultrasound of the thyroid is absolutely vital before anyone is ever prescribed these medications.
So the doctor has to look at the thyroid first.
The responsible physician has to physically look at the thyroid to ensure there are no pre-existing nodules or elevated risks. It is a powerful, systemic, hormone alterant.
It is absolutely not something you should just buy through an online portal and inject into your leg without supervision.
Never.
But people do it every single day because they see their favorite celebrity looking incredibly thin and they want the rapid weight loss.
It's the allure of the quick fix again.
But let's look at the long game. Let's talk about what happens when the money runs out, because these drugs are wildly expensive, right?
Yep.
Or the side effects like the nausea get too bad and someone has to stop taking the injection. Medical professionals call this the rebound effect. What happens biology-wise the day after the last shot wears off?
This raises the most important question about the sustainability of modern medicine. Bariatric specialists warn that if a patient uses these injections purely as a temporary crutch,
Like, without changing anything else.
right, if they just let the drug suppress their appetite without simultaneously doing the hard work of overhauling their lifestyle, learning how to eat a high-protein diet, and building muscle through heavy resistance training, stopping the drug leads to absolute biological disaster.
They gain the weight back.
They gain it all back and often much more. It is incredibly common to see patients rapidly gain back 10 to 15 kilos within months of stopping.
Wow. Why is it so fast?
The physiology of why is fascinating. First, the stomach suddenly begins emptying at its normal fast rate again. The physical fullness is gone.
Okay, so the tank feels empty again.
And that suppressed hunger. The dopamine cravings that were silenced for a year, they return with an absolute vengeance. The patient is suddenly ravenous.
But it's worse than just being hungry, isn't it? Because of what happened to their body composition while they were on the drug.
Exactly. This is the hidden trap. While they were on the drug, they weren't hungry, so they barely ate.
Right.
And because they likely didn't consume enough protein, the body didn't just burn fat. It cannibalized its own muscle mass to survive.
Oh no, so they lose the muscle.
They reach their goal weight, but they have significantly less muscle than when they started. And muscle is the engine that burns calories.
Oh,
So now, off the drug, their baseline metabolism is significantly lower than before they ever took the first shot. They have a raging, unsuppressed appetite and a metabolism that is running in slow motion. The rapid fat gain is mathematically inevitable.
oh wow. Here's where it gets really interesting. Let me try an analogy here to see if I'm grasping this.
Okay, go for it.
It's like building a temporary concrete dam on a raging, destructive river. You put the dam up with the medication and the water completely stops flowing. You look downstream, the village is dry, and you think, great, the flood is over. We cured the river.
Right, the illusion of a cure.
But if you haven't used that temporary dry time to dig a new, permanent channel for the water to flow safely, meaning if you haven't fundamentally changed your daily habits, your protein intake, and your psychological relationship with stress, the absolute second you remove that concrete dam, the water's going to rush back in.
It's going to flood.
And because the ground is different now, the flood is going to be twice as destructive as before.
It has a brilliant way to visualize it. The injection does not cure obesity. It merely buys you time quiet, hunger-free time to fix the underlying behavior. If you waste that precious time, the rebound flood is inevitable.
So we've covered the misery of diets, and we've covered the injections, which, as you said, are designed for moderate weight loss.
Yeah.
But there is a massive demographic of people out there for whom diets and chemical shots are simply biologically insufficient.
They're beyond that point.
Exactly. They are too far down the path. Their BMI isn't 30, it's 45. For them, the only clinical path forward is permanently physically altering their actual human anatomy. We are talking about the final frontier, bariatric surgery.
Yes, and this is an area where medical science has advanced phenomenally. Bariatric surgery is highly prevalent globally, and in the region we discussed, it is extremely common.
What are the main types?
There are two main gold standard procedures that dominate the field. The vast majority, roughly 85 to 90% of all procedures, are what is known as the sleeve gastrectomy, or tamim in Arabic.
Okay, the sleeve.
The remaining percentage are the bypass or talwear.
Okay, let's establish the mechanics of these two surgeries because people confuse them constantly. What is the actual physical difference between a sleeve and a bypass?
It fundamentally comes down to how the surgery forces the body to restrict calories. The sleeve works purely on a mechanism of volume reduction.
What does that mean, practically?
The surgeon literally cuts away and removes roughly 80% of the stomach. They turn it from a large, expandable pouch into a narrow, rigid tube, roughly the size and shape of a banana.
A banana, that's tiny.
It just holds significantly less food. You take 3 or 4 bites of chicken, the tube fills up, it stretches slightly, and it immediately sends a hard neurological signal to the brain saying, we are completely full, stop eating.
So the sleeve is pure mechanical restriction. You are literally just making the gas tank permanently smaller.
Exactly. The bypass, on the other hand, whether it's the classic Roux-en-Y or the mini gastric bypass, is much more complex.
Oh, so?
It reduces the volume of the stomach by creating a tiny pouch, but it also cuts and rewrites the intestines.
It reroutes them.
Yes. By attaching the new stomach pouch further down the digestive tract, it completely bypasses the duodenum, which is the first section of the small intestine where the vast majority of calories and fats are absorbed.
Oh, wow.
So it reduces the volume you can eat, and it physically reduces the body's ability to absorb the calories from the food that does make it through.
That sounds absolutely terrifying. You are literally rewiring your internal organs. It sounds like a massive, highly dangerous trauma to the body.
It sounds like it, yes.
But when you look at the clinical data, there is something absolutely shocking about the safety profile of these procedures today.
It surprises everyone, but the data is clear. Statistically, modern bariatric surgery, when performed laparoscopically by a specialized multidisciplinary surgical team, carries a lower mortality and complication rate than a routine gallbladder removal.
Safer than getting your gallbladder out? That completely blows my mind.
The surgical technology, the camera optics, and the postoperative protocols have advanced that much in the last 20 years. It is an incredibly safe procedure in the right hands.
But despite how mathematically common and safe it is in a hospital setting, the internet is absolutely flooded with horrific stories and wild myths about what happens to your body after you get a stomach sleeve.
The misinformation is everywhere.
I see TikToks constantly about people falling apart. And in our research, top surgeons are constantly having to aggressively debunk a few of these pervasive viral myths.
Let's tackle them right now because the medical misinformation out there is rampant and harmful.
Let's do it.
Myth number one, and this is the most common. People believe that getting a sleeve causes massive permanent malabsorption of all your vitamins, and you will live the rest of your life severely malnourished and brittle.
False, right?
Completely false. Remember the mechanics we just discussed? The sleeve only reduces the volume of the stomach. It does not touch or reroute the small intestines, which is where the actual absorption of vitamins and minerals happens.
So the plumbing is the same.
The digestive pathway remains exactly the same. However, there is one single, highly specific exception: vitamin B12.
Okay, why B12? Why is that the one vitamin the body suddenly can't handle?
Because of a fascinating piece of cellular biology.
Right.
The specific cells lining the stomach wall produce a specialized protein called intrinsic factor.
Intrinsic factor.
The surgeon we spoke with described this beautifully. He calls intrinsic factor the taxi. When you eat food containing B12, the B12 cannot enter your bloodstream on its own.
It needs a ride.
It needs to get into the intrinsic factor in the stomach, and the taxi drives it down into the intestines where it can be absorbed. When you surgically remove 80% of the stomach, you remove 80% of the taxi fleet.
So the B12 is just standing on the sidewalk with no way to get into the system.
Exactly. So sleeve patients do require lifelong B12 supplementation, usually via an injection or sublingual dissolving tablet that bypasses the stomach entirely.
That makes sense.
But they are absolutely not broadly malabsorbing other vitamins, provided they eat a normal, balanced diet.
Okay, that clears up the vitamin myth. What about myth number 2? This is the visual one that terrifies people. The idea that the surgery inherently causes your hair to fall out in massive clumps and gives you this gaunt, hollow, aged look that people online cruelly call Ozempic face or zombie face.
Again, this is false as a direct result of the surgical mechanism. The act of stapling the stomach does not make your hair fall out.
Then what does?
What causes the hair loss and what causes that gaunt, hollow facial wasting is severe chronic protein deficiency.
Because they just aren't eating enough.
Precisely. Patients undergo the surgery, their stomach is the size of a banana, and they feel full after eating a single cracker. And because they haven't been educated properly, they fail to prioritize protein. A recovering bariatric body needs roughly 80 to 100 grams of high-quality protein every single day just to maintain its existing muscle mass and cellular functions, including hair follicles.
And if they don't get it?
If you only eat a few carbohydrates because you feel full, your body goes into absolute starvation triage.
Triage, like a battlefield medic deciding what is essential for survival.
Exactly. The brain says, okay, we are starving. We need protein for the heart to beat and the lungs to expand. Hair is a luxury. Shut down the hair follicles.
Wow.
Muscle in the face and arms is a luxury. Cannibalize the skeletal muscle and turn it into amino acids to survive. The body literally eats its own structural tissue.
So it's consuming itself.
Yes. Furthermore, these patients often fail to do heavy resistance training, which is the only signal that tells the brain, keep this muscle, we need it to lift things.
So it's not the surgery making them look gaunt and frail. It is profound malnutrition caused by terrible post-op dietary habits.
That's exactly it.
Which perfectly tees up an analogy that I think is the single most important concept we will discuss today. The taxi analogy for bariatric surgery.
Yes, I love this one. This is how the best surgeons explain the reality of the procedure to their patients before they ever touch a scalpel.
What do they tell them?
They tell them, this surgery is exactly like hiring a taxi to take you to the airport. You get in, you pay the fare, and the taxi drives you right to your destination, which is your ideal healthy weight. It does that effectively,
But
it does not keep you there. Once you step out of the taxi at the curb, you are entirely on your own. The taxi driver isn't going to carry your bags, he isn't going to check you in, and he isn't going to catch the flight for you.
the surgery gets you to the starting line of a normal, healthy life, but it absolutely cannot live that life for you.
Right.
And if you don't maintain the lifestyle, if you don't walk into the airport and carry your own bags, you end up right back where you started. In fact, when you look at the clinical data, the sheer volume of reduced surgeries, what they call revisions, is incredibly disheartening.
It is a tragic reality of the profession. Surgeons constantly see patients coming back into the clinic 4 or 5 years later, bidding in tears for a second, third, or even a fourth revision surgery.
A fourth revision.
Yes. They had the sleeve, they lost the weight, but then they slowly stretched the stomach back out. So they asked for a bypass, they gained the weight back again. It proves definitively that an anatomical mechanical surgery simply cannot outcompete deep-seated, untreated psychological habits.
Okay, wait. I need you to explain how that is physically possible. If the sleeve is literally making the tank the size of a banana, what stops someone from just grazing all day?
What do you mean?
If I can only eat 3 bites of food before I'm painfully full, why can't I just eat 3 bites of a highly caloric melted chocolate bar, wait 20 minutes, and then eat 3 more bites all day long?
Well, people certainly try. They try to outsmart the mechanics of the surgery. And this is where the body fights back violently with a phenomenon known clinically as dumping syndrome.
Dumping syndrome. That sounds awful just by the name. What happens?
When a patient with a surgically altered, rapid transit digestive system tries to cheat the rules by eating pure, simple sugars, like melted chocolate, ice cream, or a highly processed sugary dessert, that sugar doesn't sit in the stomach to be slowly broken down.
Where does it go?
It moves incredibly rapidly, almost instantly, straight into the small intestine.
I'm trying to picture this. It's like taking a giant water balloon filled with pure concentrated syrup and dropping it directly onto a bone-dry sponge. It hits all at once.
That's a great visual. The small intestine is suddenly overwhelmed by a hyper-concentrated dose of sugar. The body panics.
What does the body do?
To dilute this massive sugar bomb, the body violently pulls massive amounts of fluid out of your bloodstream and surrounding tissues, dumping it straight in the gut.
Oh, wow.
At the exact same time, your pancreas detects the massive sugar spike and dumps a huge, disproportionate surge of insulin into the bloodstream. But because the sugar moves through so fast, the insulin overshoots. It pulls all your blood sugar down into the basement.
Which causes severe hypoglycemia, a massive blood sugar crash. What does that actually feel like for the patient sitting on the couch who just ate the chocolate?
It feels like you are dying.
Seriously.
Yes. The patient experiences a rapid, violently pounding heart rate. They break out in a cold, drenching sweat. They experience severe dizziness, intense nausea, and an overwhelming need to lie down immediately.
That's intense.
It mimics the physical symptoms of a severe panic attack combined with profound food poisoning. It is the body's way of violently rejecting the bad habit.
It's like your body installing its own internal shock collar to keep you away from the candy aisle. If you touch the chocolate, you get shocked.
It really is.
It really highlights the central truth here. The mechanical part of the surgery, the cutting of the tissue, the stapling of the stomach, is actually the easiest part of this entire journey. The true battleground, the absolute core reason these surgeries fail, or the reason people end up weeping in a surgeon's office in the first place, is entirely psychological.
Which brings us to the final, and frankly, the heaviest and most important part of our deep dive. We have to look at the psychological toll of profound obesity and the incredibly uncomfortable societal mirror it holds up to all of us.
Yeah, when you dig into the case studies, the stories are just absolutely heartbreaking. It strips away all the clinical jargon, all the talk of BMI and GLP-1s, and it forces you to look at the devastating human cost.
The real stories.
There's a specific story of a 33-year-old man who sits in the surgeon's consultation office and confesses that he has tried to get married repeatedly, but his marriage proposals are constantly being rejected by the families.
And it's not a polite rejection.
No. The women aren't just saying no politely. They are looking at his weight and asking him to his face, "Will I just be your nurse?"
Imagine the soul-crushing devastation of hearing that society views you not as a potential partner, but as a future medical burden.
It's awful.
His weight isn't just a physical strain on his joints. It has become an impenetrable wall that has completely barred him from human connection, intimacy, and building a family.
And the tragedy is that this suffering affects the young just as severely. In the pediatric data, there's an appalling, rage-inducing story of a little girl, 9 years old.
Only 9.
She's brought into the emergency room, and she is diagnosed with heart failure and severe obstructive sleep apnea. A 9-year-old whose heart is failing because of the sheer physical weight on her chest.
It shouldn't be happening.
And why is she in this state? Because her parents constantly, daily, buy her highly processed junk food and sugary sodas simply to keep her quiet and docile at home.
It's child abuse through convenience.
Yeah.
And the parents are completely blissfully blind to their own complicity. Medical professionals point out this immense environmental hypocrisy constantly,
Yeah, you have parents who have fast food delivered to the house 4 nights a week,
who stock their own pantries to the brim with zero-calorie diet sodas and family-sized bags of chips.
who sit on the couch all weekend, and then they turn around and furiously blame their children for being obese.
They blame the child for adapting to the environment the parents provided. And their solution to this problem is often forceful, punitive, and deeply traumatizing.
What do they do?
Surgeons frequently describe scenarios where angry parents physically drag their overweight teenagers into the clinic, demanding the doctor perform bariatric surgery on the child as a form of discipline.
That's discipline.
Yes, they treat the surgery like a behavioral correction. They strip away the child's only coping mechanisms. They take away the PlayStation. They take away the car keys. They ground them, and they say, you aren't getting your life back until you let the doctor cut your stomach and you lose the weight.
That is horrifying. What actually happens to a kid who is forced onto an operating table in that situation?
They fail. Statistically, practically, and psychologically, they fail. The leading surgeons state this as an ultimate, unbreakable truth of their profession. A patient who is forced or coerced into surgery by a parent, a spouse, or a societal pressure will almost certainly fail in the long run.
Because they didn't choose it.
Exactly. Permanent weight loss requires deep, intrinsic, unbreakable internal conviction. If you take an overweight teenager who is being bullied mercilessly at school, whose only shred of escape, comfort, and control is playing video games in their room with a bag of snacks,
Right.
and you strip that away and forcefully subject them to major anatomical surgery, you do not create a healthy, vibrant kid.
What do you create?
You create a severely depressed, traumatized kid who feels violated and who will absolutely find a way to eat around the surgery, even if it means blending milkshakes, just to reclaim some autonomy.
Because you're trying to fix a broken soul with a surgical scalpel. You're trying to use an anatomical, mechanical solution for what is entirely a psychological and environmental disease.
Precisely.
The surgeon essentially has to act as a forensic psychologist first. They have to sit across from the patient and figure out, are you here to fix your stomach, or are you desperately hoping this surgery will fix your broken marriage, your childhood trauma, and your toxic environment?
Right. You cannot operate on an environment. But, and this is where the hope comes in, when the internal motivation is genuine, when the patient is ready. The positive outcomes of this intervention are nothing short of miraculous.
Like what?
Beyond just the cosmetic changes or the number on the scale dropping, the surgery profoundly heals internal biology in ways people don't expect. For example, clinical data shows a staggering 60 to 70% improvement in fertility for both men and women following significant weight loss.
Wait, fertility? How does shrinking your stomach help you have a baby?
Because massive amounts of adipose tissue fat wreak havoc on the endocrine system. In women, excess fat stores massive amounts of estrogen, which completely disrupts the ovulation cycle, leading to conditions like polycystic ovary syndrome or PCOS.
Okay, that makes sense. And in men?
In men, severe obesity plummets testosterone levels and damages sperm motility. By rapidly removing the inflammatory fat, the hormone levels balance out almost immediately. The surgery literally reverses infertility caused by obesity. Patients who spent years failing IVF suddenly conceive naturally.
That's incredible. It's like rebooting the body's operating system. And the story that really stuck with me about that profound internal motivation was the case study of the young woman from Spain.
Yes, this is the beautiful, shining counterexample to the forced teenagers. She was a young woman who came into the clinic driven by a fierce, undeniable internal desire to overcome the severe, relentless bullying she had faced her entire life.
She wanted it for herself.
She wasn't doing it for a spouse or because her parents were yelling at her. She was doing it to reclaim her own humanity. And she was so deeply motivated, so psychologically prepared, that she went out and bought an entirely new wardrobe of beautiful clothes in her goal size 8 full months in advance of her university graduation.
She literally bet on herself. She visualized the destination.
She did. Her internal goal, her sheer psychological readiness, made her procedure flawlessly successful. She followed protocols, she ate the protein, she carried her own bags out of the taxi.
Compare that level of profound dedication to the tragic, almost absurd irony of the patients who throw surgery parties.
Oh, the surgery parties. This is the ultimate example of the disconnect between medical reality and cultural habit.
I couldn't believe this when I read it.
Nurses see this in the recovery wards. You have a patient lying in a hospital bed, barely hours after having 80% of a vital organ permanently severed and removed from their body, and they throw a party in the recovery room.
A party with food.
They are surrounded by their family and friends who are sitting there eating massive bags of fast food, drinking full-sugar sodas, celebrating the surgery with the exact same toxic behavioral habits that necessitated the amputation of the stomach in the first place.
It's mind-boggling. So what does this all mean? When we look at all of this together, we look at the Spanish girl betting on herself, we look at the absurd surgery parties, we look at the parents feeding their 9-year-old soda, and we look at the tailor sewing belly pouches into standard clothing.
It all comes back to the exact same thing.
The environment.
It always comes back to the environment. We've journeyed today from the macro scale of a society that has literally engineered movement out of existence and built a world for sitting down.
Right.
We've waded through the complex biological realities of why deprivation diets fail and why chemical injections are just temporary concrete dams, not permanent cures. And we've looked at the intense, life-altering reality of bariatric surgery.
And the overarching, undeniable lesson here seems to be that your biology simply cannot be cheated.
You can't.
You cannot snarve it because it is millions of years older than you, and it will panic and hoard fat to survive. You cannot drug it into submission because the second the drug leaves your system, the biology will rebound with a vengeance.
Exactly.
You can't even surgically alter your digestive tract to cheat it because your mind will find a way to melt chocolate and outsmart the stomach. No pill, no weekly injection, and no surgical scalpel can ever replace the foundational daily environment you build for yourself.
And that is why knowledge and agency are everything. The goal of unpacking all of this isn't to demonize a traditional Kabza meal, or to say you should feel guilty every time you drive a car instead of walking.
And what's the goal?
The goal is to deeply understand our own evolutionary machinery. When we understand why our bodies hoard visceral fat, or how a massive insulin spike makes us desperately hungry, or why our dopamine receptors crave sugar when we are stressed, we can finally stop fighting our bodies.
We can work with them.
We can stop punishing ourselves and start working with our biology. We can build back that metabolic trust.
That is such a powerful, empathetic way to look at it. We are not broken. You, listening right now, your metabolism is not broken. You are just beautifully, perfectly adapted to the wrong environment.
Well said.
Which brings me right back to the beginning. We talked about the broken X-ray machine, the murky, confusing landscape of weight loss and metabolism. But maybe it's not so murky after all. If our bodies are just incredibly efficient, relentless adaptation machines constantly molding themselves to whatever environment we place them in, take a look around you right now. Look at your kitchen pantry. Look at your commute. Look at how you process stress on a Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
What exactly is the environment you are currently asking your body to adapt to?
A phenomenal, challenging question to leave on.
Thank you so much for exploring this with us. Keep questioning the quick fixes, keep exploring the incredible complex machinery of your own biology, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.